Hey, and welcome to the show. Today we're talking about wedding invitation etiquette with Myka Meier, and she is a world-renowned etiquette expert, a best-selling author, and the founder of Beaumont Etiquette and the Plaza Hotel finishing program in New York City, and a spokesperson for Lovebird. Known for her modern, approachable take on traditional etiquette, Myka blends British and American styles to make social, business, and dining etiquette accessible and fun. She has trained under former members of the royal household and is celebrated for her engaging, down to earth teaching style that empowers people to navigate any situation with confidence, kindness, and strong social EQ. So, welcome, Myka.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me to talk about one of my
Yes.
all-time favorite topics.
My gosh, your resume is incredible. You've worked
Oh,
with the
thank
royal
you.
household and the Plaza Hotel. Tell us how you ended up getting into wedding etiquette.
Do you know my first wedding clients were really through the plaza? So I was
That's
teaching social
cool.
etiquette
Awesome.
and a lot of business people. And then those business people got married and they got married at the plaza. And, I remember my first wedding was a bride who was she just wanted to do everything in a respectful way. She kind of was saying, this whole wedding planning process is so much less about me than I thought. And it's actually, I just want to do everything for my guests. I just want them to be comfortable and happy. And she was such a thoughtful bride. That was how it started. And then once kind of digital communication opened and you can have virtual clients and things like that, now a big portion of my clients are, couples to be and just wanting to make a smooth, it could be so hard to plan and just to want to make it smooth for everyone, for them, for the couple, and also for their guests, which is excellent etiquette.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I know it's like you're planning something. Most of the time, it's for the first time with a wedding. And you're like, I don't know what the right call is to do. Like, do I do it this way or do I do it that way? And so, having somebody who's an expert to kind of guide you along and to have your expertise on board with that, I think is so important because. Like I see, and we'll get into this, I see so many of these questions on social media and in
Yes.
bride Facebook groups that are like, what do I do in this situation? I never thought I would be in this situation, but now I'm
Right.
here. And how do I do this? And it's like so many family members get involved, and it's like you don't want to ruffle feathers of your friends and family or burn bridges or anything. So it's like, how do we go about this? So I'm excited to just talk about some wedding invitation etiquette because that's kind of what I've seen a lot of times in these questions. So let's just start off with the first question. How and when should you announce your engagement to friends and family?
So, there are so many different options. I think, for many people, they love to have that in-person announcement, right? When you're with your family or something like that, and you just show the ring or whatever it might be, that wow moment. People love to have that in-person moment. But I think a lot of times now, people, like me, I don't live in the same place as my family. And so I think to have, the opportunity to do it virtually is a kind of very common way now. And, whether it is through social media, through, whatever way you choose, the newest way, which I think is the coolest, and I kind of wish this existed when I got married. So Lovebird has digital engagement announcements, which are very different
Oh,
than save dates.
cool. That's fun.
It's an actual, you've got to go on and see the ones they have. They're super luxy. They're very beautiful and all different styles. But my favorite one is there's a guy and he's on, one knee, it's on the beach, and the shocked face of the bride. So they took the photography from the wedding or from the proposal, and then
Right.
they made it on Lovebird, and it's announcing the engagement. So it's just such a beautiful way to do it. And it's an alternative to just, calling someone, and it's if you're not in person, and it isn't an alternative to social media, because I feel like social media can be very impersonal for such a big
Hmm.
announcement. So it adds like a layer of formality for people, especially that can't be right there with their loved ones. So that's a really, I think, a really fun option nowadays. And also, I think the important part there is to when you are, however you choose to announce, if you are doing a digital engagement announcement, for example, using the right verbiage. So we are thrilled to announce our engagement. We are delighted to whatever but it's actual, saying you are announcing it. And I think that's different
Yeah.
between a save the date or sometimes something like that, which I've gotten save the dates as the announcement where I was like, oh, they're getting married. But I feel like it could have had even more impact to be a part of the process and the excitement
Mhm.
of that engagement. I would have sent flowers, or I would have done, something. So I think those are the most common nowadays, option
Mhm.
wise.
Yeah. So would you say, I guess this is diving a little bit deeper, if you use the engagement announcement on Lovebird and you send it out to people, are you sending it out to people who will be invited to your wedding then? Is it leading them on if you send it to them and they're
Mm,
not invited to your wedding?
this is a super hot topic.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that you need to send. I don't think so. My long answer short is I think an engagement announcement is different than inviting someone to, for example, an engagement party. An engagement
Mhm.
announcement is a simple moment of joy you are sharing. I think you can send it to colleagues. I think you can send it to a much wider audience. You can send it to your country club, all 300 people, whatever it is. And I think that is okay. Me personally, I don't recommend inviting people to an engagement party unless they are invited to the wedding. I think that's where the
Mhm.
confusion is. But I think an announcement is just about spreading joy and telling people your big news. So I think that's absolutely fine to do.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And it's like a lot of times people just, put it up on their social media and it's like
Right.
it's a surprise to a lot of people who maybe like didn't get that personal text message or, that personal like proposal announcement, things like
Right.
that.
And
So,
it feels, I think to have a digital engagement announcement just feels much more like, social media is just so wide. It's out in the world. Even if you have a private account,
mhm.
it's still, you're just putting it out there. Anyone can screen grab it and whatever. And I think that a digital engagement announcement is something that you made. It's something you designed. It's, an intimate photo with some wording that you sent for them and that person and that audience. And I also think you could, you could you could send different engagement announcements to different people. You could make one that's more
Mhm.
intimate, less intimate. So you could do that as well. If one feels too intimate, that photo, of you kissing or whatever, and then you could have one that's more like joyful and wider audience for your
Oh
colleagues if
yeah.
you want, So I think the ability to customize it is key too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, those sound so cute and I am so
You've got to
like
see the one I'm
excited
talking
to just
about
like check these
where
out.
she's on the beach and it's like the most
Yeah.
joyous. I get goosebumps every time I open. I'm
Oh.
like, oh, so
So
good.
good. I love it so much. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, another sticky situation. What happens if, say, you announce your engagement on social media and somebody does assume that they're invited to the wedding and
Mm,
they keep saying, can't wait for your wedding. Oh my gosh. Like, can't wait to see your wedding. Like thinking that they're
yeah,
going to be very
yeah.
involved in this or thinking that maybe they would be a bridesmaid
Mm.
but you're maybe scaling your wedding back more and they're not invited. How do you go about this?
That is so hard because you don't want to hurt anyone. That's so, if
Mhm.
they obviously love you or care about you so much that they want to be a part of your special day, and who knows the reasons, there could be a million why, but if they're not, somebody that you are inviting or plan to invite, I personally wouldn't address it up front. Like I wouldn't, if somebody wrote a comment on your social media and said, so excited to celebrate or can't wait or something like that, I would personally not address it. I wouldn't comment back and say, sorry, it's a small wedding. I
Right.
would leave it. And only if that person reached out to me specifically, on text or emailed or called me to be like, so when's the wedding? I haven't received my invitation or where's my save the date? Then I would address it. Then I would, say, for whatever reason, we will, we've decided, for whatever reason is, we've decided, for example, just to have a really intimate ceremony. We had to choose, because of location, just a small number of people. I can't wait to show you all the photos when I get back. Maybe we could have lunch. Maybe we could have a glass of wine. You could come over and I could show you everything, or something like that. That happened to me with a few people at work when I was getting
Mm.
married, and we just couldn't do it. It was a destination wedding. And so I think that for me, but I kind of kept it to the same group. So I kind of said, this whole group I'm not inviting, instead of like one or two people. So I think you could also think about that too, because if one person's invited, but the rest of your work team isn't, that's harder. So I kind of
Mhm.
decided just to not hurt so many people's feelings, even though I would have loved to have them there. I loved that team, but if I invited one, I had to invite all 40.
Mhm.
That wasn't possible. And they understood, and we had a big celebration at work together.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, for sure. And I love your spin on it, how it's like you're telling them no, but then you're giving a positive interaction at the end of the confrontation, if that's what you want to call it. So it's like, no, but can't wait to show you the photos. No, but can't wait to celebrate with you at work. Like, so you're giving them more
Exactly.
things to still look forward to instead of just like completely crushing
Shut down.
them, I
Right.
guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And even saying, like, let's have like, invite them over, come over and let's do,
Yeah.
is it your mom group or your whatever friends from a certain time in life, and get them all
Mhm.
together. Yeah.
Right.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard, and you don't want to hurt anyone. So I think thinking about that ahead is key.
Definitely. Okay. Another tough topic. I've seen this one in a Facebook group, which is why I wanted to ask you this. How do you uninvite somebody to your wedding? So, I guess the situation that I saw was somebody was invited to the wedding, and then, they were maybe just like not, I guess, what was the situation? They were just like being very difficult, or like assuming things, or like wearing something you weren't supposed to wear, or just like, different situations, and just like taking the wedding invitation and running with it in a different direction, I guess, than what the bride and groom wanted. And
Right.
so it ended up that this person just would be so uncomfortable now having them at their wedding after acting that way prior to the wedding. So I mean, should you even uninvite them?
Okay, so I would do everything in my power to not have to uninvite someone. That to
Mhm.
me is the last resort. Like, you think
Mhm.
your wedding will be ruined or something horrible will happen if this person now comes. I would try everything not to do that. That's a
Yeah.
relationship ending event in my mind.
Mhm.
So that I would try everything not to. If for some reason, let's give the example, the rare example here, which did happen to a client of mine. The there was an ex. There's an ex situation, and the brother of the bride, they'd invited them as a couple, and then they broke up, and then the brother and the ex weren't talking anymore. And the
Mhm.
ex was like, "Can't wait to see you there. Here's what I'm wearing," to the bride. And she's like, "Whoa,
Wow.
whoa, 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 whoa! If you come, my brother's not coming, and that can't happen." So that's a situation where she said, she called her. I think you have to try your best to face such a big decision, in a respectful way still. For whatever reason, she just kind of said, with my guidance, we'd kind of written it out, she practiced it, and she said, I've always adored you. Since you and my brother have broken up, it just wouldn't, he's not feeling comfortable to have you there. And I agree, it would cause tension, because you don't just want to point fingers and blame it on him. And I would love afterwards to have a glass of wine, or even if you don't want to say that, then don't say that. I'd love to
Right.
see some photos, and of course, keep in touch. I know how, I'm so grateful you want to be there to support, and I really appreciate it. I'm sending loads of love. Keep it short, straight. If you had a wonderful relationship with that person, that's an example of when I think it is okay to uninvite somebody.
Mhm.
But if you just get in a fight with someone, an argument, I would let it. have a slow burn, wait, don't react right away. Wait a couple weeks before you make a decision like that. Because sometimes in the heat of the moment, we get angry and we say things that we don't mean.
Mhm.
So that is
Right.
the last resort in my mind.
Oh yeah, weddings bring such heightened emotions for everybody involved, like friends, family, and the bride and groom. And so, yeah, trying to avoid those situations. And I think a good piece of advice is like really truly look at your invite list and like
Yes.
have him make his list, have her make her list, mesh them together, see how it all plays out, see who needs to be removed, see if anyone needs to be added, and like truly think on that list if that is
Yes.
who you want on your day. So then these situations don't have to happen in the future. Yeah.
Right. And if you're not sure if you like somebody's plus one, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever it is, make sure you do that person and guest and not that person
Mm-hmm.
and the other person's name. So that person is interchangeable. That's a little tip there. So,
Oh,
you
I
know,
love that.
David and guest. So that not David and Sarah. So if
Yes.
Sarah and David aren't together by the wedding, Sarah's like, well, I was invited too. So just a heads up on that.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Okay. So that brings me to what if people think that they have a plus one or are assuming that they can bring a guest, but like you've kind of put the kibosh on no plus ones?
Right. This is super, super common. It happens at almost any wedding I've ever been to, helped organize, consulted on. So I think the more clearly your invitation is worded, the better. Whether it's a digital Lovebird invitation or even save the date, um, the the better. Or if you had a printed invitation, whatever it is, I think it is so important to be as clear as possible. Put the exact names. Everybody hopefully knows that and guest, but that's not the case. A lot of people assume that means if your name's on it, you always get a guest. That is not at all true. So I think as the person receiving it, make sure it says and family. That means, and if it doesn't, that means children aren't invited. And I think from the couple, if you do have somebody that says, oh, I'm RSVPing, and you get that digital RSVP and they write in, Myka Meier and, XYZ children, and I wasn't invited with children. I think it is okay to reply and very kindly, let that person know that it was just for one person. You can also, if you have a wedding planner, you can have the wedding planner do that. That's personally what I would do if I think wedding planners are amazing. They do the dirty work, and that's what I would do. You could have somebody in the wedding party do it if you don't feel comfortable. But I think you need to tell the person, or else they show up with their guests, their 5 family members. It's very common. People do assume wrongly, and they shouldn't. So sometimes you just have to correct them. Otherwise, they come with a plus one, and that wasn't your plan. And it's your day
Mm-hmm.
after all.
Right. Yeah. And especially with like kids too, it's like you have to cut it off at some point because your wedding could literally double depending on who your guests are if they have a lot of kids. And it's like
Exactly. And the
figuring
vibe.
out your tables and your vibe.
The
And
vibe changes when the dance
yeah.
floor is filled with 2-year-olds. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe that's your vibe. Maybe you love 2-year-olds dancing, and maybe that is. But if it's not, it's your day. So you should not feel guilty. This is your permission right now not to feel guilty.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to invite children, you can also choose children over 16, for example. You
Oh yeah.
can,
That's
you can say
good.
16 and up. Family members 16 up. I think for my wedding, we did no children because it was a beach wedding. We wanted all of our friends to enjoy themselves and not have to go home at 8 p.m. So we said, our phrasing was kind of like, well, we love your little ones dearly. This is an adult only wedding. And then we included, if people still brought their children to the actual destination, we included nanny services, local,
Oh
hotel
wow.
nanny services. Like we literally we did the work for them. So it's very clear that no children were invited. And you can, again, I think the more you put on the digital platform, the more information on the website. Even if you send paper invitations, remember you've got the digital website, which is where you can put all the invitation or all the details for the wedding, the events, the do's and don'ts that you want people to know. That's your, and I think guests want to be told. They want to know this information. They want it to be clear. So the more you can give them information wise, the better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that you said that you already went ahead and did the work for them so that they're not scrambling. And I mean, I could see this happening of them being like, oh, we want to bring our kids, but because, this, and that situation, but like, who's even going to watch them there? And I feel like some people who maybe they don't travel a lot or, it's really taking them outside of their box, they're like, uncomfortable and maybe feel that it's like almost your responsibility to take care of them and cradle them like in the
Right.
situation. And so it's like you were prepared and had that ready up front. And so I
Exactly.
think that just gives people more options and you will get less questions too
It
within the
just makes it
planning
easier
process.
just for you.
Yes,
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly.
And it's like, you shouldn't have to plan everybody else's trip to your wedding. Like, you
So
know what
much
I
work.
mean? And
I
so,
know.
yeah, just doing a blanket, like, okay, maybe an FAQ on your wedding website or something, like, especially if it's a destination of like,
An
okay,
FAQ is the
here,
smartest
like,
thing you can do.
yeah, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a
Hmm.
wonderful suggestion.
Definitely. Okay. So I know we didn't completely talk about this beforehand, but I would love to know some of your favorite etiquette tips and maybe. So last night was the Oscars. I love watching all the fashion. Do you have any like tips on like the formality and like attire at all
Oh,
for
yes.
weddings?
Yes. Okay. So, my big thing for couples out there, give people the information about what they should wear. People
Okay.
want to know. It is such a
Hmm.
big behind the scenes. You think you've been clear, be chic or whatever it is, but people want as much information as possible. Everybody has group chats. What does that mean? So just be really clear. And remember on invitations, and even if it's a digital invitation through Lovebird or it's a paper invitation, you still put, if it's black tie, that goes on the invitation. So that is one of the important parts that go on the invitation. And then everything else, all the kind of the extra goes on the wedding website. But I think that is one of the most important parts that still remember you go out, you put on the invitation. I think that black tie, remember, is post 6 p.m. So you shouldn't be having a 1 p.m., black tie event if you are following formal etiquette. And I think that, there's cocktail, which means, knee length, around knee length, maybe slightly above the knee. Cocktail dresses, you see the sparkle come out there. And that's usually cocktail time of the day, evening, late afternoon, evening. Then there's formal attire, which is a suit. And cocktail for men would be, it might be a blazer and that's it. Then formal is a suit. So that is a jacket, matching trousers, maybe a pocket square and a tie. So that's formal. And then for, if you're wearing a dress, then it could be T length, which is mid calf. It could be maxi all the way to, floor length. And then there's black tie, which means tuxedo, black tie, and a floor length gown. So
Mm.
just choose what is the vibe you want. Check the dress code of the venue. Maybe there's a dress code already in place. And so that's something you want to investigate and decide ahead of time. And then just tell people what to wear. They will love you for it. They'll appreciate you for it. I even had a bride who sent out a mood board, which
Love
I
that.
loved. I
So good.
loved it. I was like, this is the best. It was a wedding in England and it was
Ooh.
country. It was a country day wedding and she wanted hats and this and that.
And
So she sent out a mood board.
love
I just loved
that.
it. I was like, this is brilliant.
Yeah. I think especially when it's a little bit out of the box like that, where it's like something that people like don't necessarily have in their closets already, like a hat or, country chic or something like that, then they really need some guidance.
Yes,
So, yeah, I love that mood board
exactly.
idea. That's so good. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, what are some tips that people might be surprised by that you should do that they don't necessarily know you should do?
Well, I think nowadays a big digital component is having people who can't make it attend the wedding virtually. So I
Yeah.
think one thing there is to still remember to send the save the dates. And if you're inviting people digitally, it makes sense also to send digital save the dates, digital invitations. So if you're doing that, it's the same exact timing. Just because they're joining digitally doesn't mean that they should get the invitations or the save dates at any different timing. They still need to prepare, coordinate their schedules, find childcare, whatever it might be, which you can, of course, do through the Lovebird tools on the platform. But I think that's a big one. I think that thank yous are hugely important. Having a platform like Lovebird where you can send out your, all of your digital communication just makes it easy. It's one place. But I think, if somebody sends you a gift ahead of time, before the wedding, then sending that thank you right away. And then otherwise you have 3 months from the date of the wedding to send your thank yous is the formal
Good to
etiquette. And
know.
I really
Okay.
believe in that. And if you're a guest, a lot of people, there's an old fashioned etiquette rule that you have a year after the wedding to send your gift. But I don't really agree with that.
Okay.
I think that's too long. I would try to
Mm-hmm.
send the gift just ASAP. If you can't
Mm-hmm.
financially or for whatever reason, send it at the wedding. And I think, those would kind of be some of mine that I can think of off the top of my head. But I just think that people, I think the big lesson is that people want the information. They want to know, give as much notice as possible. Remember, for local weddings, we save the dates 4 to 6 months in advance. Destination weddings, they need more time. Your save the dates are 8 to 12 months in advance. And then invitations, 3 to 4 months for destination weddings ahead of time, and 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time for destinations, the actual invitations. So you're just giving enough time for them and also for you to be able to give your numbers to the caterers and to organize and just to know your seating chart. Your seating chart is probably the hardest part of the whole wedding in my mind.
Yeah.
So just to make sure you have enough time to navigate the politics, the family politics. And I think just make it personalized. When we're talking on the topic of invitations, I think whether, you choose a digital Lovebird invitation or you're more of a paper still, for whatever reason, I think that's important. And don't wrongly assume when you're getting all of your RSVPs. Like, for example, on Lovebird, you can send your RSVP, but you can also send your menu selection. But it's really important for the couple to check that every single person has opened the invitation, which you can do on the Lovebird site. You see who's opened it, who hasn't. Because if Great Aunt Sue, just isn't a technology person, just to be careful. And you can see that. And you can say, hey, Great Aunt Sue, love you. Can't wait to see you at the wedding. Well, we hope. Did you get the invitation? And she says, what are you talking about? So I think that is a tool that's really helpful that allows people to track their guests and see if they're, how involved they are, which I think is really important for both sides, guests and the couple.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think all those tools sound amazing. And I'm sure while you were just talking and saying the different dates that everything needs to go out, you might be driving, or I don't know what you're doing working out right now, but you might want to pause and go back and listen to what Myka just said and write down all of those dates that you need to put in your calendar for when things need to go out. So, very good tips, very practical. This has been amazing and so super helpful. I really hope this helps a lot of couples in their planning process because, yeah, all of these tips, it's like you don't really know until you're in it. And then you're like, what do I do? So, is there anything else that you like to share? Maybe more about Lovebird or any other projects that you're working on?
I think that in the end, just remember it's about kindness and thinking about other people, what's going to
Mm-hmm.
make it easier for your guests. There's the old fashioned writing in your invitations, but then if you do that, then the stamp has to be on there. You
Oh
can't
my
just,
gosh,
like,
yes.
try to make it easier for your guests so they don't have to scramble and find stamps. I don't even own stamps anymore. I feel like
Right?
it's
Yeah.
so hard to find them. And so I think that is the beauty of Lovebird, is that it's this amazing new platform where everything is in one place. It's all digital. It's live tracking. You can live update everything and your guests will thank you for it. And I think there's a lot of, yes, it's modern. I wish it was around when I was getting married. It would have made my life so much easier. So I encourage
Mhm.
everybody to check it out. And all the new couples out there, I hope it makes it so much easier for you. And remember, especially the tip about the digital engagement announcements rather
Yeah,
than the
for
social media posts.
sure.
You've got it.
I love
It's just like
that.
such a cool tool that I love.
Mhm.
That's one of my favorite parts of it. So check it
Yeah.
out, and would love to hear your thoughts and your favorite kind of functionality and tools that you think are most helpful.
Mhm. That's so fun. Oh my gosh, go check out Lovebird and everything that they have on the website. And then go follow Myka on Instagram and all the socials. Like, she's got some good content out there too. So, thank you so
Oh,
much
thank
for
you.
sharing all these valuable tips today. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. You're so fun to talk to. I could talk all day
Yay.
about this.
Oh my gosh, same. I'm
We
like,
have a
we need
lot to talk
another
about
hour. I
still.
need another top. I have more topics to ask you about.
I
We'll have to
love
do
it.
another episode sometime in the
Well,
future. So,
thank you so much for having me on. I loved it. I
yes.
loved being here today. Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you, everyone.
so fun. Bye, Micah.
Bye.
There you have it, another episode of the Wedding Reporter podcast. To see those gorgeous wedding and engagement photos, head over to NashvilleBrideGuide.com for more behind the scenes content. And if you like this episode, I would so appreciate it if you would rate and subscribe the show. See you next time for another great episode.